Inter Milan versus Paris Saint-Germain. Well, we now know the two teams that will be competing for the 2025 UEFA Champions League trophy. That's 2024-2025. And by now, I guess you know what the topic of today's video will be. So that brings me to the start of today's video, guys. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. In today's video, I will be taking you guys through my predictions and my tactical analysis of my predictions for the 2025 Champions League final and my tactical analysis of the two teams that will be competing, the managerial style and the tactical approach to the game so far in the tournament, in the competition. So, as usual, I have with me my prompt here. And of course, we know we're going to go straight into it. Inter Milan versus PSG, the Champions League final. After two thrilling encounters, Inter Milan got past Barcelona in what I believe was the most entertaining game of the entire tournament so far, and one of the most entertaining games ever in Champions League history. You know, not even in knockout stages. And of course, Paris Saint-Germain got past Arsenal. You know, so I think without further ado, I think I've already got into the first point, by the way, which is looking at the road to the final for both teams and key players for both teams as well. Now, I would say for Inter Milan to start with, I think if you watched Inter Milan's games in the league phase, what is now known as the league phase of the Champions League, they were very resolute defensively. And Inter conceded, I think, just one goal in the entire league phase. I don't think they were scoring as much, but they conceded just one goal, which was, I think that was impressive. I'm not 100% sure about this, but you can double check for me. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I'm sure they conceded very, very little in the league phase. I think they had the best defensive record anyways. And so when you look at that, you already know Inter in like the past, I mean, not just Inter, like some Italian teams, big teams, they have a preference for a 3-5-2 formation, which kind of okay, I'll go into that in the next prompt, by the way. Let me leave that for now. But Inter's road to the final was one where they considered very little, at least until the knockout stages. And I'm trying to remember who they played in the games before Barcelona, but that's not coming to mind right now. But I think if you watch Inter, their road to the final, at least up until Barcelona, they didn't concede that many goals, by the way. So that's it. That was like a surprise for some people. I think people felt like Inter was going to not allow Barcelona score goals, you know, which was quite surprising for some people. I think many people, of course, predicted that Inter would give Barcelona a tough time, and so they did. But I don't think anybody could have thought Barcelona would score 6 goals against Inter overall in the 2 legs. So that's yeah, so that's it. I think Inter finished in the top 8 and they got into the knockout stages. They finished in top 8 in the league phase and they got into the knockout stages. So that was like briefly Inter's road to the final. I didn't pay much attention to them at the start, so I would go to PSG, who I would say I watched more in the competition. I think PSG, everybody knows PSG's story this season. They started really poor and they were in danger of not making it to even the knockout phase, not even the top 8 automatic slots. You know, they had to play the extra 2 games in the knockout phase. And so, you know, PSG, the way they started was quite interesting because everybody was thinking, oh, what's going to happen now? Luis Enrique, you know, poor start to the season in the Champions League. Are they just going to keep winning Ligue 1 and all of that? But at the turn of the year, PSG surprised everybody. And then they signed Vicha Kvaratskhelia. I think I just messed up that pronunciation. But anyways, they signed him and that was like one of the turning points of their season. And it was particularly an interesting transfer, Napoli to PSG in the middle of the season. But, at the turn of the year, PSG just caught fire. And then at the time they played Manchester City in the penultimate their penultimate league phase game, where they won that game. I think City were actually like 2 goals up, and they came back to win 4-2. That was like what turned their season around. And from there, they just started winning and winning and winning and winning, and they forgot how to lose. So Dembele started to step up, became really crucial, and now is in shout for the Ballon d'Or. Dembele over 30 goals this season, I believe. So key player for PSG, by the way. Kvaratskhelia as well. I've mentioned Donnarumma, brilliant in the 2 legs against Liverpool in the knockout stages, and again against Arsenal in the recent semi-final. Donnarumma was brilliant. So I think for me, even the midfield, like it's so easy to pick out like certain players, but everybody in that PSG team is just doing what they're supposed to do. If you look at the midfield, Vitinha, João Neves, just brilliant players, technical players. Fabian Ruiz with brilliant volley against Arsenal in second leg that took the game away from Arsenal. Nuno Mendes, blistering pace at left back. Marquinhos ever solid at centre back. Then they have the ever flowing attack of Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, and Due or Bakola or whoever is the third person in that mix. So PSG had a lot of key players, but I would say if I was to pick a standout 3, I'd say Donnarumma and maybe Dembele and maybe Nuno Mendes. I know that's very controversial because a lot of people would not agree with that top 3, but I just have to. And PSG's story, journey to the final, I think it was just contrasting times. Bad run in the league phase and then good run in the knockout stages, and they knocked out Liverpool, who were heavy favourites to win. So for Inter, key players, I would say Jan Sommer, because if it was not for Jan Sommer against Barcelona in that second leg semi-final, Barcelona will be in that final by now. I think everybody knows that. Jan Sommer made so many brilliant saves. He was the man of the match. And I think obviously Lautaro Martinez, ever-present striker, captain of the team. He played through injury against Barcelona, but he scored. Still got a goal for Inter that helped them qualify as well. Trying to see who else. I think Thuram has also played well. But I don't think in my top 3, it would be Donnarumma, Dumfries, the Inter right wing back, Denzel Dumfries, that's brilliant. Morodin, right wing back, and Lautaro Martinez. I think that would be my top 3 for Inter. So that's briefly about the both teams' road to the final and the key players for both sides. Now let's get into the managerial styles of both managers. How were these managers able to galvanize the team? How are they able to tell them to play? I want you to do this, I want you to do that, to the point where these players took out the instruction and kept on winning game after game and found themselves in the final. Well, if we start with Inter, I think everybody knows what Inter is about. If anything, the team who people are a bit surprised about their tactical approach to games is PSG. Everybody knows because, Inter got to the Champions League final as recently as 2023. So, and they played the same 3-5-2 formation then. They still play the same formation now. So it's just different, maybe a little bit changes, chop and change in there, but the core of the team is still the same. The approach to games is still the same. It's a formation that seeks a compact setup in the midfield, that makes sure that the midfield is not overrun. That's why you have wing backs playing instead of right backs or left backs. So the Inter setup is 3-5. Obviously, everybody knows what Simone Inzaghi is all about. I think Inzaghi is a coach that he likes defensive solidity and For him, I feel like he would rather a game where he doesn't score much but he wins than a game like that game against Barca where it was so open and the aggregate was, you know, 7-6. I don't think Inzaghi likes those kind of games. You know, he doesn't like chaotic games. He likes control. He wants to control the game from start to finish. And, you know, long balls over the top were also really crucial, especially against Barca with the high line and everything. You know, it was when you have two strikers up front, you know, people that are just supposed to be up front, it's a no-brainer. You play long balls, or one flick on from defense to midfield to attack, and you are in behind the Barcelona defense, you know. So that was like I think that game was also an insight for me personally into how Inter approach games this season, especially in the Champions League. And another thing is, I feel like Simone Inzaghi is also a good cup manager. You know, he knows how to. Although it's not like he's just a good cup manager alone, because he has won the Scudetto. You know, he has won he has also won other trophies. I think he won the Scudetto about 2 years ago. I think, or last year actually, Inter won the Scudetto. So and they're in contention to win this one again. So Simone Inzaghi, you know, has done brilliant. You know, in the past 2-3 years now, he has been up there in terms of like world-class managers, and he keeps Inter in those places, in those conversations. You know, they keep achieving, they keep getting closer. You know, so I think if you look at the Inter setup 3-5-2, you just know what it's about. You know, ensuring that the box, the area from the midfield to the box is there's little space for the opponents as possible. There's as little space as possible. And so if you are going to get through that Inter team, you'd have to do things, especially if you're Barcelona, for example, because I have to go back to that game again. You have to do things that you don't normally do. Because I saw that in that game, in the second half of the second leg, Barcelona were playing long balls, a lot of long balls into the box, like crosses. Like, it worked for them actually in that time, but it was not something I was used to seeing from Barcelona. So I think Simone Inzaghi's style is obvious. I don't think there's much to analyze. You know, if you watch Inter for a long time, you know what they're about. 3-5-2, compact in midfield, and then, you know, when they, I think it is a 5-3-2 when they are defending, and a 3-5-2 when they are attacking, or in the transitions, so that the wing backs can, you know, add pace and, you know, add support to the midfield and even go into attack, you know. So, and that's why you had the likes of Denzel Dumfries scoring against Barcelona. So yeah, that's all about Simone Inzaghi's style of play so far in the Champions League. As for Luis Enrique, I think I saw something different, because Luis Enrique is a manager I know really well. As a Barca fan, you know, if you're a Barca fan, you know Luis Enrique delivered the second treble for the club in 2015. So every Barca fan knows Luis Enrique's style with Barca. But I think something changed at the time Luis Enrique went to coach Spain. And Luis Enrique is obviously, you know, the tiki-taka, that's his foundation, his typical ideology of the game, right? But when he took that to Spain in the Euros in 2021, in the World Cup in 2022, it didn't quite work out, right? Especially for the World Cup where they got knocked out in the round of 16 against Morocco. So it didn't quite work out. So Luis Enrique, I think when he got back to PSG, and after the first season, where they knocked out Barca, by the way, in the quarterfinal, got to semi-final of Champions League. After the first season, especially after the first season, the first half of the Champions League this season, he saw that things were not working. And I think he decided to switch things up. At the time, he signed Kvaratskhelia, right? And of course, let's not forget, PSG does not have any out-and-out striker starting for them, right? right? So the attack in particular is very interesting. The way they set up is so fluid, right? If you see the front three of PSG, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué, or what's his name, and then there's Barcola. Sometimes there's different, but the core of that attacking play is just changing positions every now and then. You can't really, as a defender facing PSG, you can't really say, oh, this is who is going to be here at one particular time. You can't really man-mark. So that attack is so fluid, right? I think when Kvaratskhelia came, I think he's the only one, because he's a left winger. Everybody knows he's a left winger. He's the only one that primarily is most on the left, but still he drifts inside a lot, right? And Dembele is just all over the place, but in a good way, because you can't really get a hold of him, and he's having a brilliant season. So, and Luis Enrique also utilized his wing backs a lot. Achraf Hakimi and Nuno Mendes has come to life in the past 6 months. It's almost like, people know Nuno Mendes, but it's almost like the player we're seeing right now is not the Nuno Mendes we used to know. Because a lot of people, maybe me, let me say me, I knew Nuno Mendes as just a pacey right and left back, that could get past one or two players once in a while, but I didn't quite think he was a complete package before. But now, defensively, attacking wise, especially in the way he handled Mo Salah when PSG played Liverpool, that was what really made me start to look at this guy. That this guy he's onto something. He has really, really improved. His game has improved. So I think Nuno Mendes was also a player that so far this season, Luis Enrique has been able to utilize well. Then I would say in the midfield, of course, Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, these guys just play beautiful football. I don't know what changes, because I've known these guys before now. I've known Fabian Ruiz, I've known Vitinha, but they just seem to have matured and the game has improved so much. They get so many things right. Jean Neves, they get so many things right. They know how to play the short passes, and they know the quick transitions. Against Arsenal, they were a lot to deal with in midfield, and they matched Arsenal's physical presence as well. 50-50. So I think PSG, for me, it's the thing about Luis Enrique is, I think he's still a tiki-taka type of manager in terms of his preferred style, but he just made it kind of faster. Like, okay, guys, I know you want to pass. I want you to pass, but I want you to do it 3 times faster. So don't pass in one spot. If you pass, you should be like, if you started from, let's say, you're close to the edge of your box, the third or fourth pass should be on the edge of the opponent's box. So I think PSG plays faster now, because I don't think the typical tiki-taka style of play is as fast as the way PSG. Like, there's a lot of pace in their game, so there's a lot of movement, especially in that attack. It's so fluid that you can't really get a hold. And so maybe the fact that there's no starting striker helps that helps what Luis Enrique wants to do at the moment. So I think it's also quite dynamic, because sometimes they can play long balls over the top for wingers, for the likes of Dembele, Kvaratskhelia to chase, and then they can also play it short, depending on the type of opponent and maybe the time of the game. So yeah, it is how it is for Luis Enrique. Tactical styles, tactical approach to games in knockout stages. And then that brings me to my last prompt, which is the question everybody's asking, who will win the Champions League? And I think when the Champions League started, even at the knockout stage phase, even when we had got to the knockout stages, I don't think anybody still thought it would be Inter versus PSG, right? At least as at the time, maybe Barcelona, Liverpool were still in the competition. So if you ask me who will win the Champions League final, it's such a tough question, because this is the thing about Inter. Firstly, Inter is a team that they can play two styles. They can play a game where it is like very tight and they don't give you chances, but they also don't get many chances. But when Inter will give you chances, they will also get chances. So Inter can keep it tight, keep it simple, give you very little spaces, or they can scrap with you as well. And when they scrap with you, you want to take your chances when they do, because that's what cost Barcelona. Inter, when they scrap with you, will take their chances. I am so shocked because I've seen it. So Inter will take their chances when they scrap with you. Like they will score as much as you will score. They tend to be very clinical when they do not hold back, when they put in more into attack. So if you are going to scrap with Inter, you better be clinical on that day. And that's my worry for PSG, because I know PSG also, obviously they play well, but they will have more possession in that final. Obviously, PSG will have many teams will have more possession than Inter, but it's for me, I think it's a thing of also PSG scoring first will definitely help their case, because in a final it's always kind of tight. Because if you look at I think before last year, Real Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund 2024, if you look at the last the last 4 Champions League finals, I think 2021 Chelsea Man City 1-0, 2022 Real Madrid Liverpool 1-0, 2023 Man City Inter 1-0. So 3 consecutive Champions League finals, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and even 2020 also 4 actually, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, because in 2020 Bayern, Paris Saint-Germain 1-0 as well. So in the past 5 years, so to say, the Champions League finals have been really tight, right? Like really, really tight. Like it's almost like the person that gets that first goal will win. Like he's very likely to win. And for PSG to win, they will have to be the ones to get that first goal. That's just how I see it. Because one thing you don't want to do is go down to Inter in a Champions League game, especially in a final. Inter are already good defensively, but then going down a goal to them in a final will be really hard to come back from. But then again, it's not like they are infallible, right? Because Barcelona went 2 goals down home and away against Inter, and came back on both occasions. Obviously, they didn't win, but they just showed that you can come back from a goal, from even 2 goals. But then again, every team is not Barcelona. Every team cannot do it again and again. And it exhausts you, because at the end of the day, Inter won, right? So it exhausts you. But I think if there's any team right now that I can say can come from a goal down to beat Inter and win the game, it has to be PSG, because they're not going to stop, and they will take the game to you when they're down, when they're up. If you see the game against Liverpool, there's a change, even apart from tactics now, there's a change in the mentality, right? When they lost the first leg to Liverpool at the Parc des Princes, they kept on believing that they would do it, and everybody in the team said they would do it. The manager said they would do it at Anfield, they will win, and they will go through. Even the players said it. It's almost like what was motivating these guys, because there's a thin line between confidence and delusion, because you have to, when you've talked so much, you have to back up your talk. And they went to Anfield and they did it. So it is very it will be very unwise to say that, okay, just because of how the Champions League finals have been going in the past 5 years, that if Inter scores first, it means it's over for PSG. No, it's not over. It is far from over. It will be far from over, right? But I think it will be easier for PSG to win. Of course, it won't be easy, regardless, in any way or form. But it will help their cause. Let me put it that way. If they score first in the final, right? And for me, the places that the game will be won and lost would be, I don't know, because I feel like both teams to cancel each other out. This for me will just be the thing, just who takes their chances. Because like I said again, the past 5 Champions League finals, it's just been, in 4 of those 5, it's just been 1 goal separating both teams, right? The most recent one was the one that did not end in a 1 goal difference between both teams, right? So if you go by that, which we can, right, it means that there's also a very high chance that this will be a very tight game, right? And if the team that takes the chances will be the team that wins. When Real Madrid won Liverpool 1-0 in 2022, Liverpool had so many shots. Courtois was probably the man of the match. I can't remember. Liverpool had so many shots in that game. I think they definitely had more shots on target than Real Madrid. But Madrid won at the end of the day. So a final is 90 minutes. The team that takes their chances is the team that will win. Inter need to, I think what Inter needs to do to win is what they've always done, really. They don't really have to change anything, right? It's what they've always done. But I would say where they need to watch it is the fact that Barcelona has kind of exposed that Inter you can score, because Inter sort of conceded so many so very few goals until the knockout stages. So people might have thought, oh, they are going to be very compact until the final. But Barcelona has shown that in over 90 minutes, you can score definitely 3 goals at least against Inter. So PSG will be looking at that and thinking, what were the parts that Barcelona exploited in that Inter defense that we can also do, right? So that's for me. Inter needs to watch in the sense of the places when they sacrifice their compact nature to scrap or to score goals. They are also quite vulnerable to conceding as well, because they will not be as compact like when they consider 1 or 2 goals. They could concede 3. If they go out to score 3, they could concede equally 3. Sometimes the reason why they don't concede as much is because they don't go out as much, they don't push as much as well. So, and I think that's what PSG needs to do. And for what Inter needs to do, they need to just stay true to themselves, take their chances. As for PSG, I think PSG need to not play the occasion. They need to play the game, because this is PSG's. Inter is the team. Inter is a more experienced team. Inter is a team that's played in the final more recently. So Inter, I would say, knows. Inter Milan knows. They understand it better what it means to play in a Champions League final. The current squads, if I would say, inside the both teams, which teams players understand what it means to play in Champions League final more? It's definitely Inter Milan, right? But PSG now, I trust Luis Enrique, to let the boys know that okay, we're in the final, but block out the noise, play the game. But I think PSG has a younger squad, I believe, I'm not too sure. But Inter has a lot of experienced players and aging players as well. So this is the thing, PSG need to start strong. There's this thing sometimes in finals that teams do where they don't want to make a mistake early and concede and be chasing the game the rest of the game, right? So I think a lot of times in finals, teams tend to hold back a bit in the first 5-10 minutes, size each other up and see what the other team is trying to do. But I won't advise that for PSG. I think they need to take from the referees whistle, they need to take the game to Inter and try to dominate from start to finish. And that for me is how they will be able to become champions. But we'll see how that turns out. And that brings me to the end of today's video, guys. Thank you guys for supporting, for watching and sharing, and the comments and the likes. Thank you guys so much. Of course, I will be bringing you guys more as time goes on, as you know. So if you enjoyed this video, as usual, you know the drill. Share this video to all football fans, all sports fans, and everybody, and share it to your story, to your page, to your timeline, wherever. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.